will start at number 10, making their reappearance on Bryson's Best 10. It is the Houston Texans. The Texans are the 10th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So you get C.J. Stroud back in the lineup off of those 2 games missed from a concussion. Didn't miss a beat. I mean, Houston went up and down the field offensively against the Tennessee Titans. So C.J. Stroud looked as comfortable as we've seen him look. They were able to score 26 points. Stroud, in this context, threw a touchdown and had a passer rating over 100. This is simply a Texans team that when he's in the lineup, they can score on some of the better defenses in the NFL. Obviously, we know Tennessee's a Mike Vrabel coach defense. D'Amico Ryan's one of the better young head coach in the NFL, a potential chance for him. Maybe this Colts Texans game could decide coach of the year between D'Amico Ryans and Shane Steichen. Both are more than worthy recipients of that award. But they're well coached. C.J. Stroud is balling. Just plug him right back in the lineup. Didn't miss a beat, despite some of the injuries they have on their wide receiving core. I like how they're coached defensively. I like their upside on the offensive side of the ball and how they can run the football. And Houston has the potential, if they get in the playoffs, to really scare somebody. We'll see if they make the playoffs. Again, there's some teams their season could be on the line. The Texans are the 10th best team in the National Football League. At number 9 for the 3rd consecutive week, and I believe rightfully so with every fiber of my being, it is the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are the 9th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So everybody's all on the Buffalo Bills bandwagon. I get it. I understand. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, Josh Allen, who's a spectacular talent. They have Stephon Diggs, one of the better receivers in the league, who's been quite cold over the last 8 games or so. They run the football effectively. Defensively, they're well coached with Sean McDermott. I get everything. All that in a bag of chips. The Bills beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, and they beat the Cowboys badly when the Cowboys were hot in back-to-back weeks. Yes, since then, they needed a game-winning field goal to beat Easton Stick and the Chargers. And the week after that, we're in a dogfight despite Bailey Zappi throwing not 1, not 2, 3 first-half picks. And that was a game midway through the fourth quarter. It's a 1-score game midway through the fourth quarter. Josh Allen, I love Josh Allen so much, man. He's amazing. He can't help himself with some of these reckless plays. That is going to doom this Buffalo Bills team, whether it's this weekend against Miami, whether it's in the postseason. It will plague this team in the end when it's all said and done. I do like what Buffalo has offensively. I like the fact that they've run the football effectively in this wing streak. Props to them and props to Sean McDermott. We've been on Sean McDermott, but he's made the necessary adjustments. But the flaws that have plagued the Buffalo Bills all season long, I believe will plague them when it's all said and done. Could be as soon as this weekend, could be next weekend. I don't buy into this team as a championship contender, but the Buffalo Bills are the 9th best team in the National Football League. The team that they're going to be playing on Sunday in their building is at number 8. It is the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are the 8th best team in the National Football League this week. Again, down 3 spots from last week when I had them at number 5 after that win over Dallas. Listen, I know some people are just absolutely selling all of their Dolphins stock, and I understand that. They have one win. They only have one win against a team with a winning record. That's Dallas. They went into Baltimore and absolutely got the doors blown off of them, 56-19. Jalen Waddle's injured. We'll see if he comes back this week. They were dealt a brutal blow with Bradley Chubb going down for the season with an ACL tear. It just sucks for him because he was having such a great year. So prayers for a speedy recovery for Bradley Chubb. But you got Tua Tagovailoa, you got this Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert offense. My rule for teams that get humiliated, great teams essentially, and I believe the Dolphins are that, is that if they get humiliated on national television, a lot of times they're a great bet to cover very next week, if not win straight up. And the Miami Dolphins are home dogs to the Buffalo Bills. We'll see how they respond. But Tua's had the best season of his career. Tyreek is having a marvelous year. By the way, prayers to Tyreek and his family. I know they're dealing with a crisis with their house, so shout out to them and prayers for them. For the Dolphins, I like what they have defensively. I think they'll bounce back in a big way. Listen, Baltimore blows out a lot of teams, okay? So the Dolphins were the latest victim of that. The Dolphins are the 8th best team in the National Football League. At number 7, up a spot from last week. Makes me sick, but I got to be honest and objective. It's the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are the 7th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So, listen, Cleveland getting Joe Flacco in. They're 4-0 since he become. They're 4-0 in their last 4 games since he became the de facto starter of this football team. We know what this defense is capable of doing, led by Myles Garrett. It's probably the scariest unit potentially in the National Football League. They're well coached with Kevin Stefanski, and I got to give the Browns a lot of credit. because they've lost a lot of key players to injury. Obviously, Deshaun Watson, who wasn't that much of a positive for them anyway, but they lost Nick Chubb. They dealt with injuries to the running backs. Amari Cooper has been in and out of the lineup. David Njoku, God bless him, has dealt with some burns and has been able to come back and be an impact player. They've dealt with injuries on the offensive line, and yet and still, they continue to play ground and pound football, play into their identity. This notion, I remember a couple of years ago, even a year ago, hey, is Kevin Stefanski in the hot seat? I'm like, if he is, then disband the Browns organization because they don't know what they're doing. Because this guy is one of the better offensive coaches in all of football. The defense for Cleveland, coached by Jim Schwartz, who's one of the better defensive minds in all of football. They're clicking. They're rolling right now. I swear to you, they would be higher on my list if they had an elite quarterback or even a very good quarterback. I get Flacco's putting up elite numbers. He's top 5 in virtually every statistical category in the span that he took over for the Browns. But there's a reason he was on the street. I should say on the street. There's a reason he was on his couch before December. I understand that. I feel like he's going to come back to earth and turn into a pumpkin sooner rather than later, which is why I don't totally believe in the Browns as Super Bowl contenders. But I love that defense, love their offensive playmakers. The Browns are the 7th best team in the National Football League. At number 6 for the second week in a row, it is the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are the 6th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So the Rams, I've been saying it over the last 2 months, they have been arguably the best team in the NFL in that span. They've lost only one game since they beat Seattle at home, and kind of a go either way game. They were 3-6. They won 6 of their last 7. Their one loss at Baltimore in overtime. So the Ravens, who've been crushing everybody off of a bye week nonetheless, were in a dogfight with the Rams, actually trailed late in the fourth quarter before Lamar led a game-time drive. The Rams are rolling offensively, didn't play particularly well against the Giants on the road. Listen, Giants, Brian Dable, well-coached team, kind of a frisky team that can surprise you any given Sunday or Monday, whatever the case may be. As Matthew Stafford's played as well as any quarterback in the league over the last couple of months. Puka Nacua is rolling. He's only 28 yards away from the all-time NFL rookie receiving record. Cooper Kupp, when healthy, is still an impact player, my twin. Aaron Donald, they've got a good linebacking core as well. Kyron Williams has had one of the better rookie running back seasons we've seen in some time. This Rams team is the absolute, if you're a division champion, if you're Dallas, if you're Detroit, that's the last team you want to see in the first round of the playoffs, given their championship experience, given the fact that they have an elite quarterback, coach, 2 elite receivers, I believe, and an elite defensive player, or 2. This is a scary Rams team you don't want to see in the long run. The Rams are the 6th best team in the National Football League. At number 5, only coming down a spot from a week ago, it is the Detroit Lions. The Lions are the 5th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So, listen, I'm not going to butt Detroit down too much after losing on the road in Dallas. They've come closer than anybody this season to beating the Cowboys on the road. Listen, Dallas averages 37 points a game at home, or 8-0 at home. Detroit walked in their building and came potentially, arguably, I don't totally subscribe to this, but arguably an officiating breakaway, rather, from winning that game in Arlington, Texas against the Cowboys. Jared Goff had a down game, and we understand, I said this earlier in the show, that Jared Goff is kind of a limited quarterback when under pressure because of his immobility. The good news is, because Detroit has such a great offensive line, that doesn't happen very often. I think Detroit has by far the most underrated offensive skill position group in all of football. Amon-Ra St. Brown is having the best year of his career, over 1,300 yards receiving, elite receiver. Sam Laporta is the best rookie tight end I've ever seen in my life. Again, elite offensive line, Penei Sewell, Decker, etc. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs running the football. You've got David Montgomery running the football. This is an elite Lions skill position group offensively. I think the undoing of this football team is going to be its defense. I don't trust them situationally or in regards to the game in totality. Dan Campbell, we saw it on Saturday. We've seen it all season long. He's an aggressive coach. He'll fake punt you. He'll go for it on 4th down. He'll go from 2-point conversions from the 7-yard line, which is a bit ill-advised, but you get the point. They're a well-coached football team, great offense. I have concerns about their defense, though, but I think their offense is more than capable of winning at least one playoff game. The Lions are the 5th best team in the National Football League. At number 4, moving up 3 spots from last week, it is the Kansas City Chiefs. The defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs are the 4th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So Patrick Mahomes obviously has had a down year from what we're used to seeing from the best quarterback in all of football. The same could be said about Travis Kelce. But I'll tell you something. The fact that they played a Lou Anarumo coach defense and were able to muster, again, you kind of roll your eyes, 6 field goals. Well, that's 6 drives that ended in Cincinnati territory. So they moved the football effectively. Mahomes led a scoring drive. So listen, and I said this about Kansas City. We need to accept who they are this season instead of what we've seen from them in years past. This is like a New England Patriots, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick team in the 20-year dynasty that we saw from them, where it's an all-time great quarterback, an all-time great tight end at the end of his prime, a good enough running game, although I like Kansas City's running game with Pacheco more than I like some of Brady's and the Patriots. Offensive line struggling, we understand that, but the defense, like a lot of Belichick defenses, is nothing short of elite. They absolutely mauled the Cincinnati's offensive line late in that game. Chris Jones literally took over down the stretch. He's one of the best defensive players in the sport. The secondary for Kansas City is good. I think this mini bye, or not even just a mini bye, a straight up bye that they've got this week against the Chargers because they're resting all their starters is exactly what the doctor ordered for the Kansas City Chiefs. You have these offensive players kind of a reset, give them a week off, and have them set and ready to go at Arrowhead Stadium in the postseason. I still believe this Kansas City Chiefs team is the biggest threat to the Ravens to win the AFC. The Chiefs are the fourth best team in the National Football League. Staying at their number 3 spot from last week, it is the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are the third best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So, again, I believe in Dallas for the same reasons that I believed in them all season long, because they have an elite quarterback who's pushing to be top 5 in the sport, a wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb who is a top 5 receiver in the sport, undoubtedly. By the way, CeeDee Lamb over 200 yards receiving last week, over 220 yards receiving last week against the Detroit Lions. And listen, Dallas's defense, I had concerns about them coming into that game against Detroit in terms of their ability to stop the run. I get the Lions ran for over 120 yards, but it felt like through most of that game, especially on third down and short situations, I feel like Dallas' defense was money. DeMarcus Lawrence had the best game I've seen from him in a long time. Micah Parsons made an impact against a great offensive line in Detroit. So I like Dallas' secondary. I'm a little concerned about Deron Bland. Can you kind of expose him into playoffs potentially with some of the great quarterbacks that the Cowboys will face? But Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, I think is the best duo, and I'm not kidding. That includes Tua, Tyreek, Mahomes, Kelsey. I think right now, Dak to Lamb is the best duo in the National Football League. We saw it connect for a 92-yard bomb touchdown and 12 other completions throughout the course of that game. I don't think Dallas can run the football terribly effectively, and I have questions about Mike McCarthy in late-game situations. But then I think they have a great quarterback having the best year of his career, a great receiver having the best year of his career, and a defense that any given Sunday is more than capable of dominating a football game. Again, they held one of the best offenses in football to 19 points. There's something to be said about that. The Cowboys are the third best team in the National Football League. Retaining their spot at number 2, it is the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are the second best team in the NFL, and here is why. So Brock Purdy, this Niners offense really needed a good reset against the Washington Commanders' terrible defense last week, so hats off to them for getting the job done. This Niners defense is about as loaded as they come. Able to stop Washington from doing much of anything offensively. The Commanders only scoring 10 points. And again, listen, the Niners getting absolutely dominated by the Ravens at home on Christmas Day. Listen, short week, East Coast game, 1 o'clock kickoff in Washington. A little bit of a hard game to kind of get your body ready for San Francisco to come in, take care of business, do what they were supposed to do, and clinch that 1 seed in the NFC. Obviously, there starts the rest versus rust argument. What do you do in terms of having a potential bye this week in terms of resting your starters and a legit bye next week before you play your divisional playoff game? But I simply think that when San Francisco plays the game on their terms, they're about as hard to stop as there is, about as hard to stop a team as there is in all football. I still maintain, even with the loss to Baltimore, I think it's the best roster top to bottom in the NFL. The only concern I have about the 49ers, can they play from behind? There's a lot of stats with Shanahan and with Purdy. We can get into another day, but neither are great playing from behind. Actually, are kind of bad playing from behind. But it's a great roster. The Niners more than deserving, by far best team in the NFC from start to finish. We'll see if they're able to make it happen in the postseason. The Niners are the second best team in the National Football League. And of course, at number 1, I gotta say, even as a Steelers fan, it's pretty obvious, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are the best team in the NFL, and here's why. So for you to come off, again, a short week after that win against San Francisco, I get you're at home. 1 o'clock kickoff, be ready to go against a Dolphins team that is feeling good about themselves after that win against the Dallas Cowboys. And for you to come into that game, absolutely kick their teeth in from start to finish. Lamar Jackson was nothing short of spectacular. It's the third game of Lamar's career in which he had more touchdowns than incompletions. That's how great of a talent that this guy is. He's the clear MVP of the National Football League. I would argue he's the unanimous MVP for the second time in his career. Baltimore's defense, #1 in the NFL in terms of scoring defense, holding a red-hot Dolphins offense to 19 points in that contest. Tyreek Hill had virtually no impact whatsoever. Tua Tagovailoa, multiple turnovers in this game. But Lamar, the perfect passer rating, it might be really clinching the MVP award in Week 17. The Ravens' running game is elite. John Harbaugh is an elite head coach. Again, the only concern, it's kind of like San Francisco, my only concern for Baltimore is a conditional one in the sense that we've seen them, and this matters, blow 10 double-digit leads since 2020. That's the most in the NFL. So can they sort of rebound from that? Can they come back from that? I think they're more than capable of doing so. I mean, a lot of comparisons between this Ravens team and the 2019 Ravens team that won done the playoffs. I'm completely with John Harbaugh. This is a very, very different squad, different roster, different quarterback in Lamar Jackson in terms of his ability, his improvement over the last 4 years. So that's why I really, really love what this Ravens team is at. And they have every right to be the favorites, not just in the NFC, but to win the Super Bowl, to take home a third Lombardi trophy to Baltimore. Much as it hurts me as a Steelers fan to say, the Ravens are the best team in the National Football League. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.